Our song selection is Fix Me Up. Oh, yeah, fix me. Oh, yeah, fix me. Oh, yeah, fix me. Fix me, Yahshua, fix me.
Oh, yeah, fix me. Oh, yeah, fix me. Oh, yeah, fix me. Fix me, Yahshua, fix me. Oh, yeah, fix me. Oh, yeah, fix me. Oh, yeah, fix me. Fix me, Yahshua, fix me.
Fix me for my long white road.
Fix me, Yahshua, fix me.
Fix me for my sorry ground.
Fix me, Yahshua, fix me. Oh, yeah, fix me. Oh, yeah, fix me. Oh, yeah, fix me. Fix me, Yahshua, fix me. Oh, yeah, fix me. Oh, yeah, fix me. Oh, yeah, fix me. Fix me, Yahshua, fix me.
Fix me for my journey home.
Fix me, Yahshua, fix me.
Fix me for the streets of Zion.
Fix me, Yahshua, fix me. Oh, fix me. Oh, fix me. Oh,
The oracles of the UCI. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 7 through 11. But the end of all things is at hand. Be you therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things have fervent love among yourselves, for love shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging. As every man has received a gift, even so minister the same one to another as good stewards of the manifold grace of Elohim. If any man speak, let him speak as the oracles of Elohim. If any man minister, let him do it as of the ability which Elohim gives, that Elohim in all things may be glorified through Yahshua the Mashiach, to whom be praise and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Ephesians chapter 4, verses 29 through chapter 5 and verse 4. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. And grieve not the Holy Spirit of Elohim, whereby you are sealed until the day of redemption. Let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice. And be you kind one to another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as Elohim for Yahshua's sake has forgiven you. Be you therefore followers of Elohim, as their children, and walk in love, as the Mashiach also have loved us, and has given himself for us an offering and sacrifice to Elohim for a sweet-smelling savor. But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as become saints. Neither filthiness, nor foolish talking, nor jesting, which are not convenient, but rather given of thanks. Ecclesiastes chapter 5, verses 1 and 2. Keep your foot when you go to the house of Elohim, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, for they consider not that they do evil. Be not rash with your mouth, and let not your heart be hasty to utter anything before Elohim. For Elohim is in heaven, and you upon earth, therefore let your words be few. Exodus chapter 23, verses 20 and 21. Behold, I send an angel before you, to keep you in the way, and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him, and obey his voice. Provoke him not, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. Revelations chapter 3, verses 20 through 22. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come into him, and will sup with him, and he with me. To him that overcomes will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I have also overcame, and am sat down with my Father in his throne. He that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says unto the churches.
All right. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Which is peace on Yahweh's holy Sabbath day. Welcome to another holy convocation that Yahweh has enjoined unto us here in Stone Mountain, Georgia. Even saying Stone Mountain, Georgia, you guys know that it was supposed to be a KKK rally on the top of Stone Mountain, which is not. A lot of people are, got a little upset about it. But, I mean, this is normal stuff. This was their normal meeting place. That's not some strange thing that they're trying to do when we just, consider what's on Stone Mountain. Those are Confederate war generals that are carved on that mountain. And it was a known thing when they would do the laser shows that they would play the I Wish I Was in Dixie song, and it would it would be the symbol of white pride right in the middle of this area. But when you deal with what was happening years ago, there were no black people in Stone Mountain anyway. And we have a tendency to forget all of these things that migrations of people, and how you have to deal with what they call white flight when people left, the cities, and then they, realized as they got further and further out, the traffic got, worse and worse and worse, and now all of those things are turning around, and changing. But we had some calls about going to protest against the protesters, and we have to remember that it's written in Exodus 23 and verse 2 that you should not follow a multitude to do evil. And a lot of times we think that we should join in to everything that sounds like it might be a good idea. But then you have to consider, what if those things actually get out of hand? You went looking for that particular thing. And Stone Mountain is a different kind of situation. It's really a closed-off area. Like, you have to go into, the mountain area a certain way. So that is something that you can definitely avoid. If somebody's marching or they're demonstrating on your way home, you got to go home. You're going to walk across those people. But if you go to Stone Mountain looking to go against the people who are having a rally, you're just looking for possible trouble. And it doesn't make sense to go, into a situation like that where they're in the place where you got to go through a gate to get in and a gate to get out. Well, let them go over there and act the fool by themselves. What we going for? And then I hear that it's not possible anyway, because hearing it, I was hearing that they were going to shut Stone Mountain down so that they couldn't do it, anyway. So, the people that were, asking me, they were talking about getting together and getting some people to go over there. What I'm going to get my people, to fighting and get killed up for some mess. And you know who ain't going to be in that? Priest took them over there to die. He did that. He gathered them up, made sandwiches and everything. What? No, I'm not participating in that. I don't care if it was open. We wasn't going. If you went on your own. It wasn't because I told you to go. So, we have to, consider some things that the Southern Poverty Law Center lists the following info on the Christian Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. We often use 3Ks. It was interesting when I looked at the website to see that they have 4Ks because they are the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. And my elder would always say he would never leave the Christian part off. And what I found is when you go to other places, they always left the Christian part off. They never said the Ku Klux Klan is a Christian group. And what the real deal is, they are the first real terrorist Christian group in this country. But it's interesting how all the other people had, all the other groups had, FBI stings and all of these things to shut down their involvement in events and all of these things. But these people have been allowed to kind of falter on their own and then go back and set up again and splinter into other groups. But it's because of their own doing. It's not like the government went in there and shot them up and locked all of them up. That's what they do to the so-called black nationalist group. When you look at the so-called list of hate groups, they'll separate, the white supremacists from the black nationalists. So that's just basically saying you're a black supremacist if you're on the other side of that list, but you'll see the things that end up happening to them. So, brother, read some of this things that is listed on the Southern Poverty Law Center about the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan. I always say Klu for some reason. It's like a tongue twister right there, Go ahead.
Founded by David Duke in 1975, the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan has attempted to put a kinder, gentler face on the Klan, courting media attention and attempting to portray itself as a modern, white civil rights organization.
Now, one of the things that we have to deal with is them having to, or getting to the point where they're changing their image. They also got them to push into other areas of government, of politics. So, and you're not going to see that sheet. They put on this sheet just to infuriate people. The real members of this thing, you walk past them day to day. When you go to the courthouse and you're trying to do something, and before you start talking, they just hit the table and said, denied. He left his sheet at the house, the hood in the car. So if you keep looking for this hood, you're gonna miss a whole lot of stuff that's going on, because part of their infiltration into regular things is to get into government offices. This is why you can encounter a policeman, and no matter what you say, you're still guilty. Why? He just don't have his hood on. He's got a uniform on. So if you focus on this little hood and this sheet, you're going to miss what's really, going on right in front of you. Go ahead.
Non-whites who reside in America should be expected to conduct themselves according to the Christian principles and must recognize that race mixing is definitely wrong.
Now, this is what they have put out on their own website. This is their information and the way they feel about certain things. Now, understand, these things were set up in 1975, and you have, it was easier to say all of these things way back when. Go ahead.
And out of the question. It will be a privilege to live under the authority of a compassionate white Christian government.
So consider how many commercials we now see with interracial couples, and you gotta see that is infuriating white supremacy groups with every commercial that comes on that has an interracial couple on it. Go ahead.
There are politicians in Washington, D.C., working around the clock, chipping away at our liberty. But thanks to the foresight of our founding fathers, America has held out the longest against the global, race-mixing, homosexual, antichrist forces working to wipe out white Christianity the way we have always known it.
Now, you see, the whole push there is white Christianity. And this is what ended up causing a lot of our people to start trying to do some research and start trying to get some understanding, because when we start giving information about what the Israelites look like, what Christ looked like, people will then accuse you of being racist. But it's interesting. As long as everybody in Christianity is white, there's not a problem. It's only a problem when the question comes in, well, wait a minute, what did the people really look like? Then there comes this issue. Go ahead.
The Mexican birth rate in this country is 5 times that of white people.
Now, this is their data and what they end up putting out. And you have to understand that a lot of this information is given to infuriate people or make them feel a certain way so that they will want to react immediately, right now. Go ahead.
The black birth rate is 4 times larger. America will become a third world nation if these trends continue.
Right. So this is their thought process, that they have to do something. Now, consider, with all of the increase in racial events that we've seen, consider the things that you've heard President Trump say, and then listen to the things that you see on the Knights of the Ku Klux Klan website, and you'll see why his supporters are hand in hand with this agenda. This is the Make America Great Again campaign. Listen to the things that are being said. This is, understand, this is his thought process in 1975. This has always been his thought process, that the Mexicans are reproducing at a higher rate. Go ahead.
Unless we slow down and cut off immigration by beefing up border control and encourage welfare recipients to have fewer kids.
Stop. How do you encourage welfare recipients to have fewer kids? See, there's all kinds of methods. There are a ton. Understand, they already want to infiltrate all these other means of government and things like that. So the first thing is to cut off any kind of assistance. After that, you have many other things. This increased incarceration rate amongst black males, that is automatically going to slow down reproduction if all your males are in prison. And if you feel like your males deserve to be there, you're going to have zero sympathy about the things that they undergo. Not understanding that this is a put-together plan, that these people have taken their hoods off, infiltrated government offices, and have implemented their plan. You got to think, being a cop is a Ku Klux Klan guy's dream. Well, not only do you get to shoot black people, but you get a vacation for everyone you shoot. They call it paid administrative leave. But if you can't come to work and you still get your check, what is that other than a vacation? That has got to be their dream job. Go ahead.
The white population in America will be swamped. This is from David Duke in the run-up to KKKKK's 1977 Border Patrol operation.
I don't know how many K's you put in there. That was a lot right there.
That's because you used to only hear 3.
I know, right? Let's go to Exodus chapter 1. And we're going to start that at verse 8. That just looks like a lot of K's on the paper, don't it? It just throw you off. But you consider the KKK has their own border patrol. So consider the thought process of what they had, and then think about the things that you hear from President Trump. Now you understand why at his gatherings there's always a bunch of white supremacists there. See, when people start saying the same things, they're going to recognize it. Like there's a certain age group, if I start saying certain things, they're going to know where it come from. If I start saying Tupac lyrics, some people are going to be like, that's Tupac. Now, for the younger kids, I'd have to say something else, and they'll be able to recognize it. Well, if you on these websites and Trump starts saying certain things, you recognize, wait a minute, he's down with our cause. I'm hearing the same things I'm hearing from him. These are the same things that we're talking about in our meetings. So they hear those certain words, and they understand that he's on one accord with them. Exodus chapter 1, and let's read verses 8 through 22.
Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falls out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land.
Right. So we see that this paranoia about a group of people latching on to a invading enemy is not a new thought process. This level of paranoia has been around for a very long time. But there's certain things that we can look back and actually see where some of that paranoia was justified. They just did it to the wrong people. And we'll go over that a little later. Go ahead.
Therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramses.
Right. So their thought process is that if you work these people so hard, they will not have the ability to multiply and establish themselves inside of this nation of Egypt. And you have to look at the state of Israel right now. The things that they do to any immigrants, it is absolutely appalling. They claim that the Ethiopian Jews are their brothers. Those are the only dark-skinned Jews that they will accept. But then they sterilize them when they get there. So their automatic thing is, you can never multiply more than us. And these are supposed to be people of the same faith. You know, to the straight Africans that end up coming there, they end up putting them under all kind of stringent rules and regulations. They can't move. They have to check back in every couple of hours, which means they can never get a job, and they will never get enough money to sustain a family. So there are organized means to make sure that if you are not Jewish, you will not excel in Israel. Go ahead.
But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All their service, wherein they made them serve, was with rigor.
Mm-hmm.
And the king of Egypt spake to the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of the one was Shiphrah, and the name of the other Puah. And he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women, and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then you shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live.
Right, and we understand that through killing off of the male seed, it is the males that are going to perpetuate the family, that's going to keep the bloodline going. The women are seed carriers. They are going to produce the offspring of whatever male they end up procreating with. They understand this. So their automatic push was not to kill all of the children of Israel, just kill the men. If you kill the men, you will absorb the women into your culture eventually and over time. So when we look at some of the things that are happening, people understand genetics, and they know what it is they're attempting to do by killing these men children and not the women. What ends up happening, this is one of the things that causes a divide between us here in America. This same type of thing, that there's more problems that the black male is going to go through. And a lot of times it's hard to explain to females the kind of things that a male encounters. Because they say, well, yeah, I went to school, I got a good job. What's your problem? They don't have those things happen to them, so they think it's foreign when the man says certain things, unless they just so happen to be there when certain things go down. But it's hard to explain that to somebody when they've never encountered it. Go ahead.
But the midwives feared Elohim, and did not the asking of the king of Egypt, and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive.
Right, and we used to have midwives that would deliver the children, but you had a situation where they were not able to figure out our exact numbers and things like that. So they eventually went through and made all of those things illegal for no reason at all. Because black people were accustomed to having children in a house. Now, try to talk to somebody about having a kid in a house and they will go off on you. It was customary for our people to do that. But when they outlawed those midwives, attacked all of those things, that pushed everybody to the hospitals, and that way they were able to keep adequate count on how many people have been born and things of that nature. Before that, they couldn't do it. Go ahead.
And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have you done this thing, and have saved the men children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered, or the midwives come in unto them. Therefore Elohim dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty.
Now, what we got to do is deal with this situation. Verse 19, and the midwife said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively, for they are delivered before the midwives come in unto them. That was a lie. Okay? Verse 20, therefore Elohim dealt well with the midwife. Hold on. The word says, thou shalt not bear false witness. They lied, and Yahweh did well unto them. See, this is what you have to explain to people. Now, people might call that a white lie. No, that's not a white lie. They were in an impossible situation. The situation is kill an innocent child or lie to the man and tell him we didn't have a chance to kill the child. Which one you think we're going to be the biggest sin? See, sometimes you got to use some common sense with this word as well. Because this is a situation when it comes down to, do you want to have to stand there and answer that, you killed an innocent child because somebody told you to? Or did you stand up to that pressure and say, no, this not going to happen. I'm not participating in this. Now, because they didn't participate, he had to then orchestrate another campaign. But what if they had participated? There would be no need for the other campaign. Keep reading.
And it came to pass, because the midwives feared Elohim, that he made them houses.
So they lied, and he built them houses. But keep in mind, the woman that hid the Hebrew spies, she lied. And Yahweh took care of her. What we have to consider is the particular situation. When you do right by Israel, Yahweh does right by you. Go ahead.
And Pharaoh charged all his people, saying, every son that is born you shall cast into the river, and every daughter you shall save alive.
So now he's got to get the rest of the people involved in this because the women refused to do it. But if they had not refused, we would have a whole nother legacy right here as far as these women doing that particular deed. But now this falls on all of Egypt now. So consider when the judgment comes and they're losing their firstborn. See, people forget about the things that have taken place and the things that they have done years ago when it comes time for righteous judgment. So then, and sometimes we forget when we look and say, man, he got all the Egyptian, kids. Well, you got to understand the things that they went forth and did. And we're talking, if this thing is happening, Moshe's 80 years old when he goes back. Man, ain't nobody thinking about what they did 80 years ago. They ain't even got the same teeth they had 80 years ago. They're not thinking about that. How many of them are even still alive from that era? But Yahweh don't forget. Go ahead, brother. I want you to read these things that we got here from a New York Times article.
From a New York Times article entitled, Why the Announcement of a Looming White Minority Makes Demographers Nervous. In a nation preoccupied by race, the moment when white Americans will make up less than half the country's population has become an object of fascination.
Now, and we have to consider that there are people that are standing alongside and they are using this to cause certain chaos within America. I understand when the same thing that Russia is doing to America in trying to affect the election, they're doing that in other countries as well. And they knew certain things to go and mess with. So they've studied American history enough to know, hey, it's an issue between them and the so-called African Americans that are there. So let's see if we can cause a problem. Understand who the Russians went after. They were trying to mess with the black vote. Go ahead.
For white nationalists, it signifies a kind of doomsday clock counting down to the end of racial and cultural dominance. For progressives who seek an end to the Republican power, the year points to an inevitable political triumph when they imagine voters of color will rise up and hand victories to the Democratic Party.
Right, and part of that, this is why you see a constant changing of the lines, and they keep redrawing what a county is, what a city is. This is to constantly manipulate the numbers, because if you constantly manipulate the numbers, there will never be a majority black vote. So if you can continuously manipulate this thing, you can always influence the vote by doing that. At the bottom of this graphic, it says, people went crazy, said Dial Myers, a demographer at the University of Southern California, of the 2008 projection that non-Hispanic whites would drop below half the population by 2042. So this is letting you know the mindset of people once this information came out. Go ahead.
In the Census Bureau's projections, people of mixed race or ethnicity have been counted mostly as minorities. Demographers say this has had the effect of understanding the size of white population.
Understating,
pardon me, the
right.
size of white population.
Right, because you have interracial people, mixed people, who have the ability to decide what they're going to categorize themselves as. Go ahead.
They say because many Americans with one white parent may identify as white or partially white. On the other census forms, Americans can choose more than one race and whether they are of Hispanic origin. Among Asians and Hispanics, more than a quarter marry outside their race, according to the Pew Research Center. For American-born Asians, the share is nearly double that. It means that mixed-race people may be a small group now, around 7% of the population, according to Pew, but will steadily grow. Are those children white? Are they minority? Are they both? What about the grandchildren?
Now, what we have to consider as we get bombarded with each of these things of dealing with color, you have to consider when Jewish people intermarry, they still stay Jewish. One of them ends up converting. So you have to consider, as all of these other things are happening, there's a whole nother side to this that people are benefiting from that we're not watching. Go ahead.
It was not just white nationalists worried about losing racial dominance. Dr. Myers watched as progressives envisioning political power became enamored with the idea of a coming white minority. He said it was hard to interest them in his works on ways to make the change seem less threatening to fearful white Americans, for instance, by emphasizing the good that could come from immigration. Dr. Myers and a colleague later found that presenting the data differently could produce a much less anxious reaction.
Mm-hmm.
In work published this spring, they found that the negative effects that came from reading about a white decline were largely erased when the same people read about how the white category was in fact getting bigger by absorbing multiracial young people through intermarriage.
Now, consider the first part. Kill the males, but save the women alive. What was Pharaoh going to do? He was bringing them into his culture. And see, this is one of the big things that ends up happening with us. We intermarry, and we don't have a culture to make sure that stays in the house. When you got a situation where somebody converts, then no matter who they marry, the same culture goes forth. That is a very, very big difference. Let's go to Hosea chapter 7.
Hosea chapter 7 and verse 1. When I would have healed Israel, then the lawlessness of Ephraim was discovered, and the wickedness of Samaria. For they committed falsehood, and the thief cometh in, and the troop of robbers spoileth without. And they considered not in their hearts that I remembered all their wickedness. Now their own doings have beset them about. They are before my face. They make the king glad with their wickedness, and the princes with their lies. They are all adulterers, as an oven heated by the baker, who ceaseth not from raising after he has kneaded the dough until it be leavened. In the day of our king, the princes have made him sick with bottles of wine. He stretched out his hand with scorners. For they have made ready their heart like an oven, whilst they lie in wait. Their basket sleepeth all the night. In the morning it burneth as a flaming fire. They are all hot as an oven, and have devoured their judges. All their kings are fallen. There is none among them that calleth unto me. Ephraim, he has mixed himself among the people. Ephraim is a cake not turned.
And when you consider what there seems to be a really ongoing push, in one of the videos that I think Big Benea had sent, there was a Jewish guy trying to explain what the children of Israel look like, and he said, well, they would look like the people who call themselves the Palestinians. They would look closer to a certain look, and what you're finding is they're using certain things to mix this thought process in, and one of those things is a constant thing of racial mixing will eventually make everybody look the same. So if you're trying to steal a land and you don't look like the people who come from there, if you can end up mixing everybody else, then you look closer to the people who left by everybody else's mixing. So it's a game that's being played, but we're all end up focusing on the wrong individuals and how this is going. So when you talk about a cake unturned is cooked on one side. Whenever you're cooking anything, you got to cook it from both sides. If you don't cook it from both sides, you're going to have one side dark and the other side not. So this is what this explanation is. He has mixed himself among the people. He is a cake not turned. Go ahead.
Verse 9. Strangers have devoured his strength.
Because at this point, the land follows the seed of the male. This is where the underlying thing is. No matter who mixes with who, the land follows the male. So if a woman marries, an Israelite woman marries outside of Israel, she is giving up her family land. Simple as that. That's the part that people are not dealing with. It comes down to this. When you talk about these 12 tribes, the land is divided amongst the sons. This is why you have the whole story of Zelophehad, the daughters of Zelophehad, because he didn't have any sons. Then they had to divide the land amongst the daughters. But then they were very strict on the daughters. You can only marry from the sons of that tribe that your father come from, because that land got to go back to those same tribal men. That's the thing that people are not dealing with. Go ahead.
Verse 9. strangers have devoured his strength, and he knows it not. Yea, gray hairs are here and there upon him, yet he knows it not. And the pride of Israel testifies to his face, and they do not return to Yahweh their Elohim, nor seek him for all this. Ephraim also is like a silly dove without heart. They call to Egypt, they go to Assyria. When they shall go, I will spread my net upon them. I'll bring them down as the fowls of the heaven. I'll chasten them as their congregation has heard. Woe unto them, for they have fled from me. Destruction unto them, because they have transgressed against me. Though I have redeemed them, yet they have spoken lies against me. And they have not cried unto me with their heart when they howled upon their beds. They assembled themselves for corn and wine, and they rebel against me.
Right. They assemble themselves for corn and wine. Let us say it's a party, and everybody shows up. Say, all right, y'all, we got to clean the camp. It'd be 5 people in here. We assemble ourselves for corn and wine. Oh, corn is the hard liquor. Right. Read, bro.
So I have bound and strengthened their arms, yet do they imagine mischief against me. They return, but not to the Most High. They are like a deceitful bow. Their princes shall fall by the sword for the rage of their tongue. This shall be their derision in the land of Egypt.
All right, let's go to Ezra chapter 9.
Ezra chapter 9 and verse 1. Now when these things were done, the princes came to me, saying, the people of Israel and the priests and the Levites have not separated themselves from the people of the lands, doing according to their abominations, even of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites, the Ammonites, the Moabites, the Egyptians, and the Amorites.
Now, the part I have to explain to people that all these people, they're black. So a lot of people got this into some color situation. No, this is about culture. All of these people, it says Israel has not separated themselves. Israel was called Canaan land. And I watched a video where the guy straight lied and was talking about, hey, they would look like the Palestinians. Canaan is a son of Ham. Ham means burnt. If your daddy burnt, chances are you're gonna be a little chocolate chip. Okay? That's just how that works. Okay? So understand, this is the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Jebusites. These are all of these people of color that he's saying that these that the children of Israel have mingled with, and his issue was what the issue was before. They're going to end up worshiping some mess. Because when we intermarry, since our people, especially here in the daughter of Babylon, we don't have a set culture. So our culture becomes whatever a mix of the two. We marry an Indian woman, we walk around with a feather in our head. Instead of telling the Indian, hey, we Hebrew. You're going to need to take that dot off your head. And this is the way we're going to walk. That's not what we do. We just mingle everything else together instead of saying this is the culture of this house. This is how we're going to walk. This has been Israel's problem from the beginning. This ain't no new problem. we don't decide what the culture of the house is going to be. Go ahead.
For they have taken up their daughters for themselves and for their sons, so that the holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands.
The holy seed have mingled themselves with the people of those lands. Has nothing to do with color. Now, we're picking up strange doctrine. Now we serve Yahweh on one day and serving a whole nother God the next day right behind it. What did Solomon do? Start building temples for the strange wives that he married. So 1 minute he'll go and pray to Yahweh. Next minute, he's standing in another temple. Go ahead.
Yea, the hand of the princes and rulers have been chief in this trespass.
Right. So and this is the same thing. It says the hand of the princes and rulers have been chief in this trespass. So in other words, the people who have the most power and circumstance are the ones who did it the most. Go ahead.
When I heard this thing, I rent my garment and my mantle, and plucked off the hair of my head and of my beard, and sat down astonished. Then were assembled unto me every side that trembled at the words of the Elohim of Israel.
Everyone that trembled at the words. Go ahead.
Were assembled unto me everyone that trembled at the words of the Elohim of Israel, because of the transgression of those that had been carried away, and I sat astonished until the evening sacrifice.
Right. There were that assembled unto me everyone that trembled at the words. These are the people that actually care about what's going on. Go ahead.
And at the evening sacrifice, I arose up from my heaviness, and having rent my garment and my mantle, I fell upon my knees and spread out my hands unto Yahweh my Elohim, and said, O my Elohim, I am ashamed and blush to lift up my face to you, my Elohim, for our lawlessness are increased over our head, and our trespass is grown up onto the heavens. Since the days of our fathers have we been in a great trespass unto this day, and for our lawlessness have we, our kings and our priests, been delivered into the hand of the kings of the lands, to the sword, captivity, and to a spoil, and to confusion of face, as it is this day. And now, for a little space, grace has been showed from Yahweh our Elohim, to leave us as a remnant to escape, and to give us a nail in his holy place, that our Elohim may lighten our eyes, and give us a little reviving in our bondage. For we were bondmen, yet our Elohim has not forsaken us in our bondage, but has extended mercy unto us in the sight of the kings of Persia, to give us a reviving, to set up the house of our Elohim, and to repair the desolations thereof, and to give us a wall in Yehuda and Jerusalem. And now, O our Elohim, what shall we say after this? For we have forsaken your commandments, which you have commanded by your servants the prophets, saying, the land unto which you go to possess it is an unclean land with the filthiness of the people of the land, with their abominations, which have filled it from one end to another with their uncleanness. Now therefore, give not your daughters unto their sons, neither take their daughters unto your sons, nor seek their peace or their wealth forever, that you may be strong and eat the good of the land, and leave it for an inheritance to your children forever.
Understand, we're talking about the people that Yahweh is removing from the land. So why would you turn around and marry of the people that he's kicking out of the land, because they were wicked before you got there? So then when you intermingle with the people that he's running out, you're keeping them in. Go ahead.
And after all that has come upon us, for our evil deeds and for our great trespass, seeing that you, our Elohim, has punished us less than our iniquities deserve, and has given us such deliverance as this, should we again break your commandments and join in affinity with the people of these abominations?
Not the people of this color, not the people who look a certain way, the people of these abominations. The first thing we do when we're looking at somebody, we're looking at how they look. We ain't asking no question, what's your culture? What kind of stuff you do? Where your folks from? Do you ever keep the Sabbath? What kind of food you eat? We're not answering that. We're talking about something. How wide is your shoulders? How tall are you? What size is that shoe? Right. Read, man.
Would not you be angry with us, so you have consumed us, so that there should be no remnant nor escaping? O Yahweh Elohim of Israel, you are righteous, for we remain yet escaped, as it is this day. Behold, we are before you in our trespass, but we cannot stand before you because of this.
We cannot stand before you because of this. So understand, we have people who know enough about our word to know certain things is going to keep us powerless and unable to stand before our Elohim. See, the issue here is our culture is published. It's published for all to read, which means that other people can read exactly what the key points of destroying you are. They ain't got to send no spies to try to figure out how to get to Israel. They can go in the privacy of their own house. Oh, yeah, that's going to get them right there. That's it. Because we too busy going to church singing and dancing. But everybody has the keys to our culture right here in front of them. And if they do certain things and cause us to do certain things, it is going to drive a wedge in between us and our Elohim, which means that's less help that we have when things get ready to go down. Let's go to our Deuteronomy chapter 7. So that's why we have to understand this whole part of they must be dealing with that bondage. See, that's a little part of mind game to keep you out of the things that's actually going to help you. And those people that are saying it have been encouraged to do so. Deuteronomy chapter 7, and let's read verses 1 through 7.
When Yahweh your Elohim shall bring you into the land, whether you go to possess it, and have cast out many nations before you, the Hittites, and the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than you. And when Yahweh your Elohim shall deliver them before you, you shall smite them and utterly destroy them. You shall make no covenant with them, nor show mercy unto them.
Right, and he specifically lists these nations. Now, a lot of people take that and do a whole lot of other things with it. Now, Yahweh was very, especially in this Old Testament, about mingling among other nations. But these things here were specific about these particular nations. Go ahead.
Neither shall you make marriages with them. Your daughter you shall not give unto his son, nor his daughter shall you take unto your son.
So, when he starts dealing with the people in Ezra, they're not just saying some stuff that they thought was okay. They're grabbing this stuff from the law, from the Torah, and saying these were our instructions. Go ahead.
For they will turn away your son from following me.
And then he tells you why. What's the problem? And that exact thing has happened. Because what we want to do, we want to intermarry and then we want to be fair. Well, since you worship Buddha, we're going to put Buddha right here. See, Buddha going to have a place on the mantle. And then we'll have something, we'll put a little lion there for the lion of the tribe of Yehuda, See, you ought to get up in the morning and the lion that ate Buddha. That's what ought to happen. Read, man.
They may serve other gods. so will the anger of Yahweh be kindled against you and destroy you suddenly.
But see, we think that's being fair. That's compromise. There's certain things that ain't no compromise. This is the culture of this house. Go ahead.
But thus shall you deal with them. You shall destroy their altars and break down their images and cut down their groves and burn their graven images with fire. For you are an holy people unto Yahweh your Elohim.
Mm-hmm.
Yahweh your Elohim has chosen you to be a special people unto himself.
Right. Now, if we can mix and mingle the special people so much that people can pretend like they don't know who they are, then now you're not as special anymore. See, if you can't increase somebody else, how about let's just decrease them? If we can take away some of their special attributes, then they won't be as special and we come up by default. Go ahead.
Above all the people that are upon the face of the earth.
Right. Did you where you at?
Verse 6.
Okay, go ahead.
Yahweh did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because you were more in number than any people,
Mm-hmm.
for you were the fewest of all people.
Right. So it's not this thing of how he chose to deal with Israel, and it had nothing to do with our physical numbers. Let's go to Ruth chapter 4.
Ruth chapter 4 and verse 1. Then went Boaz up to the gate, and sat him down there, and behold, the kinsman of whom Boaz spake came by, unto whom he said, Ho, such a one, turn aside, sit down here. And he turned aside and sat down. And he took 10 men of the elders of the city, and said, Sit you down here. And they sat down. And he said unto the kinsman, Naomi, that is come again out of the country of Moab, sells a parcel of land which was our brother Elimelech's.
Mm-hmm. So they're dealing with this thing according to the lineage of the males. She's the only one left. Go ahead.
And I thought to advertise you, saying, Buy it before the inhabitants, and before the elders of my people. If you will redeem it, redeem it. But if you will not redeem it, then tell me, that I may know, for there is none to redeem it besides you, and I'm after you.
So even in dealing with the things of lineage, because this other guy was above him, he had to have the opportunity to do that before Boaz. Lineage. One of the things that I watched in the video about, this so-called Jewish person, they tried to put down the whole thought process of lineage when the entire book goes that way. We go into Revelation. This 144,000 is according to the lineage of the tribes of Israel. But they want to try to tell you that you must be some kind of racist if you're dealing with lineage. Now, these are people that's supposed to be, the book is supposed to be about them. But when it's convenient, they jump in and out of the lineage part. I find that interesting. Go ahead.
And he said, I'll redeem it. Then said Boaz, What day you bought the field of the hand of Naomi, you must buy it also of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance.
So in other words, he can't just buy the land. If you buy the land, you got to marry the woman, and you got to get a woman a child. Go ahead.
And the kinsman said, I cannot redeem
He
it.
said, you know what? I'm out, bro. I'm out. Stakes too high. I ain't gonna be able to do it. I can buy the land. I got enough money. But that whole getting the children thing, I can't. I done already separated my inheritance. Little Junior done got what he got. And I done already set this. Once I bring somebody else in here, we got to renegotiate who gonna get what all over, and it's gonna be it's gonna be a problem. So I want the land, but I ain't gonna be able to, have these new children. So I'm out. Go ahead.
I cannot redeem it for myself. At least I mine mine own inheritance.
And he tells you exactly. All you gotta do is keep reading. How would he mar his own inheritance? They got to renegotiate. You got $100,000. You got 4 kids. Everybody know what their inheritance is. When the 5th one come, everybody look like, our money just went down. Our money just went down. Who is that little snotty nose child that came in here and cut my money in half? Right. Now you got to watch that kid. They gonna be like, I'm gonna do something to the little boy. You got to watch that kid everywhere they go. Go ahead.
Redeem you my right to yourself, for I cannot redeem it.
Now
this was the manner in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing.
Now, first of all, you have to understand how this is going. So hold your place right there, and let's go back to chapter 1 and read verse 16. Ruth 1 and verse 16. So why is this? Because we've read all of these things, how dare these people marry outside of, their culture. But look at the difference in what kind of woman this Moabitess was. Because understand, when we read that other part, it told us about all the people of Canaan, and then Moab was in there too. Now, this is a woman of Moab. Go ahead.
And Ruth said, entreat me not to leave you or to return from following after.
Understand, her husband dead. Her mother-in-law is the only one left. So her husband dead, both of their husbands dead. So now a woman is tied to her husband as long as he lives. Her husband dead. She can go back to whatever little strange god the Moabites worship. Go ahead.
Whether you goeth, I will go. And where you lodgeth, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your Elohim, my Elohim.
That was a different kind of woman. Now let's go back to verse chapter 4. See?
Luke chapter 4 and verse 7. Now this was the manner in former time in Israel concerning redeeming and concerning changing. For to confirm all things, a man plucked off his shoe and gave it to his neighbor. And this was a testimony in Israel. Therefore the kinsman said unto Boaz, buy it for you. So he drew off his shoe. And Boaz said unto the elders and unto all the people, you are witnesses this day.
And one thing you're going to have to learn in dealing with Israel, there's certain things you need to have some witnesses. Because people got funny remembrance. Folks will be telling you, I don't remember you buying this land. Look at that. Come here, such a one. Come here, bro. Come here. Y'all, come on over here. We're about to make a business deal. Need some witnesses for this transaction. Go ahead.
That I have bought all that was Elimelech's and all that was Chilion's and Mahlon's of the hand of Naomi. Moreover, Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of Mahlon, have I purchased to be my wife.
Why? Because the land and the woman go hand in hand. He couldn't get the land without getting the woman. When you read the things that happened with Dawid and through that crazy king before him, Saul, Yahweh said, I gave you your master's house and your master's wives. All that stuff that went with that land, that's yours now. Go ahead.
To raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not cut off from among his brethren and from the gate of his place. You are witnesses this day. And all the people that were in the gate and the elders said, we are witnesses. Yahweh make the woman that is come into the house like Rachel and like Leah, which two did build the house of Israel, and do you worthily in Ephrathah, and be famous in Bethlehem.
Right. And they don't seem to be coming at her in some kind of strange way. They have watched this woman and how she has behaved herself since she got among those people. Go ahead.
Let your house be like the house of Pharez, whom Tamar bare unto Yehudah, of the seed which Yahweh shall give you of this young woman. So Boaz took Ruth, and she was his wife. And when he went in unto her, Yahweh gave her conception, and she bare a son. And the women said unto Naomi, Blessed be Yahweh, which has not left you this day without a kinsman, that his name may be famous in Israel. And he shall be unto you a restorer of your life, and a nourisher of your old age.
No, so consider this. Listen to what it's saying. And the women said unto Naomi, Blessed be Yahweh, which have not left you this day without a kinsman. Her husband dead, her 2 sons dead. Now, through her daughter-in-law, she then has this child. Other than that, her whole seed was cut off without this woman, who's foreign, by the way. Go ahead.
Your daughter-in-law, which loves you, which is better to you than 7 sons, has borne him. And Naomi took the child, laid it in her bosom, and became nurse unto it. And the women, her neighbors, gave it a name, saying, There is a son born to Naomi, and they called his name Obed. He is the father of Jesse, the father of David.
So now you understand that this woman then has given birth to a son that's in the lineage of the kings. Go ahead.
Now these are the generations of Perez. Perez begot Hezron, and Hezron begot Ram, and Ram begot Amminadab, and Amminadab begot Nahashon, and Nahashon begot Salmon, and Salmon begot Boaz, and Boaz begot Obed, and Obed begot Jesse, and Jesse begot David.
Now understand now, Boaz, and this is that thing, especially when you have that thing, you always hear people talking about I'm trying to find my Boaz. You're always having them women talking, I'm trying to find my Boaz. Let me tell you something. Boaz is an older man. He already has sons and maybe other wives. The only child that's even in the lineage of the king is the one that comes from the foreign woman. Don't think that all you see here is this one child. He was an older man. That was part of the thing. That they looked at Ruth as a righteous woman, that she didn't come over there and run after the young men. See, that's the part that you don't hear when people be talking about, I'm looking for my Boaz. They in the gym looking for Boaz. I'm looking for my Boaz. Right. Let's go to Exodus chapter 12. See, they ain't looking for no established man got himself together. They looking at the gym. They want to find them a young Boaz. Huh? So, no, that Boaz got gray hair. I don't want that one. Exodus chapter 12. And let's read verses 43 through 49.
Verse 43. And Yahweh said unto Moshe and Aaron, This is the ordinance of the Passover. There shall no stranger eat thereof. But every man's servant that is bought for money, when you have circumcised him, then shall he eat thereof.
Right. So for the foreigner to take part in these things, then that circumcision had to be done, because the covenant of circumcision was given unto the children of Israel, and it is a covenant that we are supposed to walk in. Go ahead.
A foreigner and an hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house shall it be eaten. You shall not carry forth aught of the flesh abroad out of the house, neither shall you break a bone thereof. All the congregation of Israel shall keep it. And when a stranger shall sojourn with you, and will keep the Passover to Yahweh, let all his males be circumcised.
Now, you find that this is rather interesting. When a stranger shall sojourn with you and will keep the Passover, all his males are to be circumcised. Go ahead.
And then let him come near and keep it. And he shall be as one that is born in the land. For no uncircumcised person shall eat thereof.
So now you find that this was the set in stone law about dealing with this Passover. If any foreigner was going to deal with that Passover, then all the males of their house must partake in this circumcision. Go ahead.
One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourns among you.
So now we have to consider the weight of this thing, and then we go to what's set up now in the New Testament. This has now been set aside for the baptism. This is why we say if somebody has not gotten their baptism, they need not partake. They cannot partake in the things of the Passover. The circumcision is something that Israel is supposed to do anyway. But understand that your Gentiles were not given circumcision. They were given baptism. And whether circumcised or not, they can still partake of the Passover. Now, understand when it comes time for that righteous kingdom to be set up, it is written, no one uncircumcised in flesh or in heart shall enter into that kingdom. So there is a grace period there. Because I know that there are people who have asked questions about the circumcision because there are certain ones who were not circumcised. And understand, you have, and I don't think we consider when we look at a lot of the names of these hospitals that they're Jewish owned. I don't think we pay attention to that. We don't really pay attention. And then just so happen, there ends up being a large amount of black kids who didn't get a circumcision. And we keep thinking, wow, that's peculiar. No, it's not peculiar. You ain't paying attention. Go ahead, brother. That was it. Let's go to Nehemiah chapter 7.
I'll read the last verse while we go there. One law shall be to him that is homeborn and unto the stranger that sojourns among you.
So then we see, even when you read the things of the New Testament regarding the circumcision, it says that once you receive that circumcision, you have now the duty to do the whole law. So those that were not given circumcision, and then they received the circumcision, they are putting the duty of the whole law on them. It wasn't given unto them to do that. That was given unto Israel. But you see how people can deal with this one-size-fits-all thing, and then they get themselves into something. I had a Jehovah's Witness come to me and start talking all kind of stuff about the law and blah, 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 blah. And I just asked him one question. Are you circumcised? And he knew exactly where I was going. I said, no. Just answer the question. Are you circumcised or not? I said, right. You know where I'm going. Then you have made yourself a debtor to do the whole law. Get out of my face. See, I'll talk to him for a little while, and then I kick him off my porch. I'm not going to be there all day talking to you, because at the end of the day, they're going to give you their pamphlets, but they're not going to take none of yours. Their whole thing is they think they have accurate knowledge. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes. But I tell you what, it's going to be a real brisk couple of minutes. We're not going to be here all day. You can believe that. Because I know ain't nothing going to happen between that. It's a spiritual workout. Every now and then you ought to work out. You see the Jehovah's Witness, run, go catch them. Excuse me. Hey, come on over here. I got one. Come on over here. Hey, yeah, my little Lucifer worshiping friend. Come on over here. Come on, let's talk. Yeah, I got a sword right here. Hey, when you feel like a spiritual exercise, go ahead and get one. That's a good little workout. You're gonna learn something from it. But I'm done with them workouts. I need some bigger fish. You know, I've done that. You know, move on. But I'm not gonna tell y'all not to do it. It'd be good for you. You know what I'm saying? You know, every now and then you need to beat up on Jehovah a little bit. You know, you need to show him the power of your God. I tell him point blank, my God whoop your God. You know what I'm saying? Simple like that. It is what it is. So let's go ahead and get into it. So it'll be a good thing for you from time to time. Go ahead and read that, brother. Nehemiah chapter 7, and read verses 63 through 64.
And of the priests, the children of Habiah, the children of Koz, the children of Barzillai, which took one of the daughters of Barzillai to wife, and was called after their name.
Right.
These sought their registry among those that were reckoned by genealogy, but it was not found.
Because if it's reckoned by genealogy, then it's going to be after the male. because you married the woman and then was called by their name, when we go into genealogy, we're not going to find no daddy. When we look for your daddy, we're not going to find an Israelite. This is why I try to tell people the real power and strength of women marrying outside of Israel. You have given away all your land rights. And there are parts on here where a woman was given unto another man of Israel, but her daddy had stuff. She went to asking all stuff. Look, give me the nether and the upper springs. You know what, daddy? Give me such and such and such. And he gave it to her. Now that stuff stayed with her descendants because she's married from within them tribes. That stuff stay there. When a woman marries outside, we're not going to give Israel land away. You got to understand that. So you do whatever you got to do. But Israel land not going to be divided. That's what already happened. That's not going to happen again. Go ahead.
Therefore were they, as polluted, from the priesthood.
Right. Because they could not find a father in the priesthood, they were not allowed to be in the priesthood. Now let's go to 2 Kings chapter 17. So that's that thing. That's why you go in this New Testament and you're not going to find anything about priests among the Gospels and the letters. Then when you get into Peter and Hebrews, when he's talking directly to the children of Israel, then you start finding stuff like priesthood, priest. Well, no need of them hearing nothing about no priest, because they couldn't be that. What are you going to talk to them about something that they can't do? That ain't going to do nothing but annoy the people. So you go to somebody's house and he's like, oh, man, you want some fried chicken? Yeah. We ain't got none. Well, what you ask me about? You done brought up fried chicken. I can taste it now. You ain't got none. I ain't gonna do it but tick somebody off. What you talking about it for? 2 Kings chapter 17, and let's start at verse 18.
Therefore Yahweh was angry with Israel and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Yehudah only. Also Yehudah kept not the commandments of Yahweh their Elohim, but walked in the statutes of Israel which they made. And Yahweh rejected all the seed of Israel and afflicted them, and delivered them into the hand of spoilers until he had cast them out of his sight.
Right. This is the punishment for Israel. This is the same thing that was written in the beginning. If you do not serve Yahweh, then your destiny is to serve the nations. And people who know our culture know this. So they are using that against us. See? You go ahead and mingle among everybody, and because you don't even fully understand your culture, you're going to be further down the line because you're mingling and you're not preserving your own culture as you're doing it. So you're going to be so twisted when it comes time to enter into that land because you done pulled up everybody else's culture except the culture of this book. Go ahead.
For he rent Israel from the house of Dawid, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king. And Jeroboam drave Israel from following Yahweh and made them sin a great sin. For the children of Israel walked in all the sins of Jeroboam which he did. They departed not from them. Until Yahweh removed Israel out of his sight, as he had said by all his servants the prophets.
He said by his servants the prophets, he gave them an opportunity to change. This is why the people didn't like the prophets. That's why it's so interesting now that somebody comes to town and say they the prophet, and everybody run go see them, you know, so they can hear some nice, sweet prophecies. Man, they were getting out of Dodge when they seen the prophet. Think about what he just said. I told them all of these negative things by my servants, the prophets. The prophets don't bring a bunch of niceties. When they show up, they like, look, man, hey, Yahweh about to do something to you. I'm trying to tell you. Man, I ain't trying to hear that. Then, you know, stuff don't happen in 2 weeks. So we like, forget him. About 10, 12 years go by, Yahweh send another prophet. Hey, y'all about to get tore up. We wait 4 weeks this time. Don't nothing happen, we go back to doing it. Right. We ain't listening until stuff start happening. So our people did not like seeing the prophets. How all of a sudden Sunday morning the prophets are somebody that they pay to go and get to come to their church. Oh, we finna do prophecy. Everybody pull out your money. You got to pay for the prophecy. If one of them actually said, oh man, you finna have a righteous judgment and your whole left side gonna rot off, I'm supposed to pay you $1,000 for that. I'm supposed to pay you for that. You done told me my whole left side gonna rot, I'm supposed to pay you for that. So now when people pay to hear a prophet lie, you got to tell them a good lie. Good prophet lie. Right. That's why the whole power of prophecy has diminished among the so-called gospel of today. They don't understand. The prophet gave you warning. That's what the prophet's job is. Not to tell you a bunch of nice stuff to make you feel good. It's not his job. Go ahead, brother.
So is Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria unto this day. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Cutha, and from Ava, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim.
Right.
And placed them in the cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel.
And people will tell you, I'm a Sephardic Jew. Oh, you a convert. Oh, okay. Yeah, tell me more. Go ahead.
They possessed Samaria and dwelt in the cities thereof. And so it was at the beginning of their dwelling there that they feared not Yahweh. Wherefore Yahweh sent lions among them, which slew some of them.
So these are replacements. So you're going to get some replacement priests. Go ahead.
Wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, the nations which you have removed and placed in the cities of Samaria know not the manner of the Elohim of the land. Therefore he has sent lions among them.
So in the beginning, these imposters didn't know nothing about our culture. Go ahead.
You know, even with this, it gives you a clue. Where's the only place you find lions?
Hey, brother. Well, you know what? The biggest lie they told us, well, see, this is the Middle East. No, it ain't. That's Africa. But you see how you can mess with the mental of people by changing the description? See? Telling people it's the Middle East, now they think that part is separate from Africa. No. All of this is happening in Africa. Okay? But if you're not understanding that, this is why people can present to you some people who look a different way. Because you know how many people got this book sitting on their coffee table at the house and have no idea that this stuff takes place in Africa? They about to put another Bible documentary on, and everybody on it, Lily White. And they keep doing documentary after documentary. Each time, the people get just a little bit more tan. They stay in there just a little bit. It gets just a hint. People tell you, oh no, well I think he was olive. What the hell color is olive? Do he look like the olive or the oil? I'm trying to figure out. I don't know what that is. Read, man.
And behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the Elohim of the land. Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, carry thither one of the priests whom you brought from thence, and let them go and dwell there, and let him teach them the manner of the Elohim of the land.
Boy, I tell you, when I tell you Yahweh punish you, when Yahweh make you train your replacement, you can't get no more raw than that. Same thing he did to Eli when Eli wouldn't do what he was supposed to do. He sent Samuel. Eli had to train Samuel, and then Samuel took his place. And it hurt Samuel because he loved Eli, because Eli was like a daddy to him. But Eli had a real problem with following instrucciones. And Yahweh didn't care nothing about it. You finna go. You finna die. Your son's finna die. And that boy that you've been training, he about to take your place. So now we had to train the replacements. So this is how they got replacement priests. They got some B-team priests that coming in here. So when you see them people and they talking about, oh, we a rabbi, you B-team. You B-team. B-team, go sit down. I know how you got in here, B-team. Don't come up in here talking about like, you know what I'm saying, you been here, you wanted the authentic, you B-team. You come in when we get tired, all right? That's when the B-team get to play, when we up by 50. Go ahead, man.
Verse 28. And one of the priests whom they had carried away from Samaria came and dwelt in Bethel and taught them how they should fear Yahweh. Howbeit every nation made gods of their own and put them in the houses of the high places which the Samaritans had made, every nation in their cities where they dwelt.
Right. So they openly had Yahweh on one side and all their phallic symbols and all the other stuff that they worship, the star of their god, Remphan, and all of that. They had all of it side by side. But they wasn't given the same things that we were given. So the same judgments didn't fall upon them. They weren't given the law. That's why they can serve two gods and nothing happens. We do it and punishment comes to us. And if you don't understand that, now you're walking around talking about how everything unfair. So then they taunt you with those things. Think about how many times we look at television and you see some corruption going on in government and our people getting marched off to jail and they crying. They just had a sister on TV the other day. They gave her time. She fainted. Poor sister. But you know what the problem is? We sit by and they watch all the Caucasians take money, get bribes, and then we say, I can do it too. Oh, them get money. Look at that brand new car back they got over there. I can do it too. We can do it. Punch another. We can do it. Go ahead. You're going to jail. We do it, we go to jail. And we can't figure out why. You're getting judged by a different set of rules. They don't have that same thing over them. You do. So then we get jealous when other nations are able to do evil and things don't happen to them. And now we contemplate it. So you see them just steal that coat? Did you see that? I like that blue coat over there. They don't have the same judgment over them as you do. Try it if you want. And this is what encourages us, especially when some of us do it who have already made their league with Satan. So then we got some little Satan worshiping friends. And Satan protect them when they do evil. So now we want to do evil too. We just want, put Yahweh in the back pocket. Yahweh, you don't want to see this. I'm about to do something with my little Luciferian friend over here. Right. And he like, and I'm going to let your Luciferian friend go home. But you're going to go to jail before the night over with. Right. Go ahead.
And the men of Babylon made Succoth-Benoth. And the men of Cuth made Nergal. And the men of Hamath made Ashima. And the Ivites made Nibhaz and Tartak. And the Sepharvites burnt their children in fire to Adremelech. And Amalek, the gods of the Sepharvaim.
Right. And because we want to be like the nations, we pick up the same things. And y'all were like, who told you to burn your kids in the fire? Well, because we've been hanging around them and, it seems feng shui. I was just looking at some stuff on the Super Bowl on my way out the door, and the guy put, it was on the news, and they showing the little eating places or whatever, and they put a big old thing, an octopus up there, man, and they sitting there eating it, and I was grossed out on my way walking out the door. I could, God Almighty. But they telling people, oh no, this is a delicacy. That's what's going to happen to your insides. It's going to be very delicate. You keep eating that stuff right there. Go ahead, bro.
So they feared Yahweh and made unto themselves of the lowest of them priests of the high places.
They made the lowest of them priests. That's why I call them B-team. See, people be saying, Sark be saying some mean stuff. They the lowest of them priests, them the B-team. Go ahead.
To sacrifice for them in the house of the high places. They feared Yahweh and served their own gods.
That's why you're going to go through when you try to deal with the Jewish, all of a sudden you're going to start hearing stuff. You know, people say, do you keep Hanukkah? Do you keep the Festival of Lights? Do you keep such and such? All right, well, show it to me in this book. Right. No, I don't keep that. That's why you're going to find all other kind of rituals that ain't got nothing to do. You got prayers that don't make no sense. You have things that they have a thing that they do on atonement called the Kol Nidre, which is a prayer that you say nullifying all the vows that you're going to make that year. What? So I'm finna tell, so what I'm doing is I'm going to make myself exempt from any lie that I'm finna tell this year. Who in the hell does that? And where that come from? Find some Kol Nidre in here. Come on now. Come on, you back? Come on, Cletus. Come on, Cletus. You're going to walk over here, but you're going to limp back. Come on, Cletus. Find it. Find where you can make a vow that releases all the future vows that you're about to make. And this is something that is said every year. The first thing that you say is you release yourself from any vow. Who does that but a liar? That's like that the thing we used to do when we were kids. Yeah, man, I promise I'm going to do it. And you be looking, brother, let me see your hand. Oh, no, I ain't doing it. Brother, let me see your hand. I ain't going to do that. Right. See? That was the official lie right there. I'm held exempt from this lie that I just told. So then you got grown priests walking around doing this. Somebody, yeah, I promise, God. You see that, don't you? Right. Go ahead, bro.
They feared Yahweh and served their own gods after the manner of the nations whom they carried away from them. On this day they do after the former manners. They fear not Yahweh, neither do they after their statutes, or after their ordinances, or after the law and commandments which Yahweh commanded the children of Jacob, whom he named Yisrael.
All right. Now, once tasting rulership in the Holy Land, the replacements see the amazing possibilities for them as the bloodline Israelites are scattered and expelled. It is time that we all consider that we have been played in a game that we didn't know that we were in, using color as a divide to separate us. In recent times, it has been generally accepted that the holy people were Caucasian in appearance. As more and more information of old has come to light, mindsets about the look of the Messiah and the holy people have been altered to keep up with the information that have been given unto us. When it comes to attempting to figure out what the holy people look like, you often hear that race mixing have changed the face of the holy people. When it was accepted without scrutiny that the holy people were white, race mixing was believed to be deplorable. In fact, in America, intermarriage between white and black people needed a permit. This is where the first marriage licenses come from. Before interracial marriage, no one needed a marriage license. Now that it's being discovered more and more who the holy people are, interracial marriage is not looked upon with the same attitude as before. In fact, almost every other commercial shows an interracial couple. We must understand who is in control of the media and what would be their end game for such a display. What they are doing, meanwhile, as all of these things are happening, they are still preserving their culture. We must understand that when the so-called Jewish people intermarry, it is normal for one spouse to convert to Judaism. When all other ethnicities intermarry, the household culture is thrown into the air, and the result is often a hybrid of both ethnic groups. So you see, intermarriage, where the culture of the Bible is still kept, would be like the situation of Ruth. Let's go to Ezra chapter 2. And, you know, this reminds me of a situation where I looked at a thing where Drake was being interviewed, And the interviewer, who was Jewish, told Drake, the rapper, he told him, "You are what I always wanted to be," which is Jewish and black. You need to just rattle that one around for a minute. And consider the way that their culture is so-called handed down. They claim to be Jewish through the mother, which is completely opposite of what this book says. But if you're raised in Jewish culture, then they are then gaining a situation and not losing, because the culture is still kept. That's not what happens when we marry abroad. We pick up everybody's culture, and because we don't understand that we have one, we don't have any culture to bring to the table. Ezra chapter 2, and read verse 40 first.
The Levites, the children of Yeshua, and Kadmiel, of the children of Hodiah, 70 and 4.
And then jump to verse 61.
And of the children of the priests, the children of Habiah, the children of Kaz, the children of Barzillai, which took a wife of the daughters of Barzillai the Gileadite, and was called after their name. These sought their register among those that were reckoned by genealogy, but they were not found. Therefore were they, as polluted, put from the priesthood.
So then we see that it was a common thing. If you're going to deal with the priesthood, they're going to examine your lineage. Now, the so-called Jews have gotten worldwide sympathy because of the events of the Holocaust. It is written in the Torah that we must make diligent inquiry before making decisions. The people who call themselves the Jews, and these are the parts of the story that is not told, that they double-crossed Germany, the country who took them in when they fled from Russia, in order to get Palestine. When the Germans realized that America got into World War I because of deceptive Jewish-owned American media, the altercation began. The Jews, who secretly influenced two world conflicts to get Palestine, boycotted Germany while still living in Germany. That is interesting, consider that they have influenced legislation to make American people pledge not to boycott Israel. And this is an act of pure hypocrisy. As it is written, I know them that say that they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. We have to see the game. The American media, what we see is a Caucasian-looking person. And that's how we end up missing the mark. While they got everybody else dealing with color, the media is Jewish control. They are the ones showing all the images of us. They are the ones showing all the things to push this so-called race war, because at the end of the day, they get to win while we all fighting each other. So you have to consider the power. If someone can go to Europe and say we can guarantee America's involvement in the war if you give us Palestine. They said, all right, well, we're going to lose without America. And they were about to sign an agreement to end the war. All of a sudden, the American Jewish-controlled media starts saying all of this anti-German stuff. Boom, America's in the war. Then, when that situation comes to be, the Jewish go back to Europe and say, all right, we came for our payment. We want Palestine. That's where you get the Balfour Declaration. And when the Germans read it and saw it, they realized they had been double-crossed. So what we hear is the end part of the Holocaust. We don't hear that they double-crossed them people. Then they went right back to the. Imagine somebody double-crossing you. You don't figure it out while you fighting. You figure it out after you done lost. And then you go back home, and they sitting in your living room. And you looking at the piece of paper. Wait a minute. How the hell you get land out of this fight? You wasn't even in it. Oh, that's what happened. So they said, hey, with this Jewish-controlled media, we've taken over American media. We can present whatever we want. So America get in, they get Palestine. That was World War I. They still got to take possession. So they got to make sure another war come about so that they can get the land that they were promised. But now, meanwhile, Germany and the Jewish people are fighting back and forth. And understand, Russia took them people in, or Germany took them in when they were ran out of Russia. This is why you have that thing where they talk about the Russian Jews. You start looking, them the ones that were left over there when they got ran out of there. So then they're in, and there are pictures. They publicize their war with Germany. And what they did was try to cause all the other countries to boycott them, to not buy any German goods. Meanwhile, they're in Germany. So how do you think this is influencing them people that we know y'all set us up to lose the war? We know that y'all been warring from us, and they own a whole lot of things in Germany at this point. There was no fighting amongst them. There was no nothing. Once them people got wind of that, that's when they start painting the swastikas on their doors saying, don't buy from these people. Why? Because the Jewish was already boycotting and not buying, telling everybody else not to buy German goods in the whole world. This is how we end up hearing one side of the story. Remember how we would hear how, the most savage Indians, they just scalp you. You read far enough in that story, you find out the scalping was a retaliation for what the white man did to them. See, those people had a certain order that they fought. They believed that men went to war. They didn't bother old men, women, and children. Those were off limits. They were off the table. You didn't fight with them. Them Indians went off to fight, come back, and they whole village of women and old men and children murdered. Then they cut off certain body parts and moved them around. So they not only killed those people, they mutilated them. Scalping was a retaliation. Now look at how the twisted media shows things. Now, all you know about Indians is scalping, but you don't know that that was retaliation. You don't know about the things that were done to them first. They didn't even believe in women fighting. They didn't touch the women. They fought man to man. That's the way they fought. They didn't know that kind of war. So then they come and figure out, who comes and kills innocent children? What kind of people is this? Same thing has happened. All we've heard about the Holocaust every year. Feel sorry for us for these things that have happened to us. But you tried to take over those people's economy. You tried to starve those people out. You starved them so they couldn't export any of their goods. You publicized your war against them. You went and got somebody else in the war, and they would have won if you had not done it. What did you expect they were going to do to you? And now people walk around feeling sorry for everything. We bite on that sympathy chain. Then the people who come out and tell the truth, now we anti-Semitic. I ain't anti-Semitic because I'm not anti-sock. I love sock. Yeah, I appreciate it, bro. I got one brother in here love me. People talking about that you anti-Semitic. They're not Semites. They're Russians who ran to Germany and then was given land in Palestine because of the people they double-crossed. So you can't call me anti-Semitic. I know what I am. And I ain't anti-me. But let us hear the conclusion of this matter. Let's go to Jeremiah 31. See, a certain parts, my elder used to say, when those parts where it says in the book, dealing with the daughter of Babylon, it says the least of the flock shall draw them out. And my elder used to say, oh, that's Esau. And then you look, man, the control of the media is so strong that they can basically control your mindset by the things that they allow to come on the television. This is where YouTube and Facebook is dangerous, because now there's an alternate situation for you to be able to hear something that they can't automatically control. See, television is under their control. Movies is under their control. They can control music under their control. Hey, the first gangster rap group was pushed by a white Jewish man. After that, the whole face of rap changed. Before that, rappers, most of them had done at least 1 or 2 years in college. Go back and listen to the other rappers. They had education. Queen Latifah was about pushing black unity, stuff about Africa and things like that. That was taking hip-hop in a totally different direction. Then here come the Jewish man with the niggas with attitudes. NWA. And the whole thing changed, and everything is murder, death, kill. Murder, death, kill. To the point that's all our kids want to hear now, because that's all the Jewish-owned media conglomerate will allow them to put out. You come talking something good, and them Jewish people going to run you out of town. So you ain't killed nobody on this record yet? Well, do you fornicate by the time the record ends? You ain't going to fornicate, ain't going to kill nobody. Make it that out of here. Nobody want to hear that. Next. Right. Before you know it, now we done altered our whole thing because we want to be out. So now we're murdering and fornicating on record. Right. Go ahead, bro.
Jeremiah chapter 31 and verse 1. At the same time, says Yahweh, will I be the Elohim of all the families of Israel, and they shall be my people. Thus says Yahweh, the people which were left of the sword found grace in the wilderness, even Israel, when I went to cause him to rest. Yahweh has appeared of old unto me, saying, Yea, I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore with loving kindness have I drawn you. Again, I will build you, and you shall be built, O virgin of Israel. You shall again be adorned with your tabrets, and shall go forth in the dances of them that make merry. You shall yet plant vines upon the mountains of Samaria. The planters shall plant, and shall eat them common things. For there shall be a day that the watchmen upon the Mount Ephraim shall cry, Arise you, and let us go up to Zion unto Yahweh our Elohim. Thus says Yahweh, Sing with gladness for Yaakov, and shout among the chief of the nations. Publish you, praise you, and say, O Yahweh, save your people, the remnant of Israel. Behold, I will bring them from the north country, and gather them from the coast of the earth, and with them the blind and the lame, the woman with child, and her that travaileth with child together. A great company shall return thither.
Right. At the end of the day, we got to make it back. I don't care if you got to limp there. You got to get in your wheelchair and roll. You better roll. We got somewhere to be. Our salvation and our healing, it ain't here. It says the lame man shall leap like a hart. You talking about being able to jump like a deer? Hey, man, that's something altogether different. I'm in class, man. Don't call me. That's something altogether different, being able to have that kind of power and that kind of healing. Why would we not want to be a part of that? Go ahead, brother.
Verse 9, They shall come with weeping, and with supplications will I lead them. I will cause them to walk by the rivers of waters in a straight way, wherein they shall not stumble. For I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. Hear the word of Yahweh, O you nations, and declare it in the isles afar off, and say, He that scattered Israel will gather him, and keep him, as a shepherd does his flock. For Yahweh has redeemed Yaakov, and ransomed him from the hand of him that was stronger than he. Therefore they shall come and sing in the height of Zion, and shall flow together to the goodness of Yahweh, for wheat, and for wine, and for oil, and for the young of the flock and of the herd. And their souls shall be as a watered garden, and they shall not sorrow any more at all.
Right, and this is what the nations are trying to keep. from happening unto the true children of Israel. See, the whole earth is having sympathy among a group of people who haven't gone through any of these things. The things that they have gone through are self-inflicted. See, it's different when something happens to somebody and it was a situation of one thing. But when you talk about, hey, the evil that you received was because you did evil to somebody else. See, the evil that we receive is mainly because of the things that we did walking against Yahweh. That's what caused us our judgment. And the people who possess your land, they want you to stay away from Yahweh. Because the longer you stay away from Yahweh, the longer they believe that they're going to be able to possess your land. Go ahead.
Then shall the virgin rejoice in the dance, both young man and old together, for I will turn their mourning into joy, and will comfort them, and make them rejoice from their sorrow.
All right, that's all that we're going to do for today. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.